Hello, you guys, and thank you so much for tuning into my channel. So, this is going to be a messy video. Yeah, but it's something that I didn't want to talk about, but I very much knew that I had to. So, it is very much going to be messy, but I'm going to try my very best to not attack the character of this person, because at the end of the day, like, when I think about it, my falling out with Victoria Kayser probably had more to do with a clash in in our personalities and her and me just being very different people, over and above everything else. So this is not a Victoria Kayser is an evil person video, but I do understand why so many people hate her. Like, I get it. So a couple of months ago, I made a video about Victoria, where I was very much defending her. And I think the energy of that video, or my mindset, was I saw another trans person of color who is being attacked on social media. I very much, how I saw how everyone was with Victoria, I saw it as people just trying to bring down a mixed-race woman. That's like people trying to bring down a black woman. That's what I saw. That's what I was reading, and I wasn't here for it. Now, Victoria, like, the first time I heard about her was actually from my friend Lauren. Lauren did not like Victoria. I remember she calls me the one time, and we start talking about this influencer. Now, I don't know who she is from a bar of soap, but Lauren, like, unloads, and she tells me how terrible this person is. Now, a week and a half later, I end up being introduced to Victoria by a friend of mine. So my friend Cody is friends with Victoria, and Cody was on the phone, and she was all like, "Hey, do you want a video chat with Victoria?" And I'm like, "Victoria Kayser? Yeah, let's do it." So my first impression of Victoria, to be honest, I just thought she was such a sweet girl. I thought she was just a sweet, very innocent and very, very naive girl in the early stages of her transition. Um, I think as an older trans person, when you see somebody starting off in their transition, there is this immediate sense of, I need to protect this person. I need to support this person. I need to help guide this person, because they are so vulnerable and they don't know what this transition or what this life is going to mean for them. So me and Victoria very much became friends that way. Yeah, I think us as trans people, we latch onto other trans people, and us in the LGBT plus Q plus alphabet community, we latch onto other queer people, and we don't ever ask ourselves, is this person a good person? Is this person a healthy person? Is this person a positive person? We just give them this green card because they're different. And then we want to act shocked when they show us flames. Girl. Because I was shocked, girl. But anyways, so we correspond for about 5 months, 6 months, however long it was. And I end up moving from Cape Town to the Eastern Cape. And I message her and I'm like, "Girl, I am in the Eastern Cape. We need to meet up. We need to hang." So she's like, "Yes, definitely. We need to make this happen." So she was really pumped to meet me. And she has a friend named Allison. And she's like, "Yeah, me and Allison, we're so excited to meet you. It's going to be so wonderful." Cool. Now, my trip to see Victoria coincides with me being sacked from work. So unfortunately, the company I worked with terminated uh, the contract of employment. So yeah, I was fired. Now, for anyone who's ever lost their job, you understand that when you lose your job, you very much go into this like depression, you go into this like anxiety, because you're like, how am I going to survive? Now, in as much as I was going through this, I still wanted to see Victoria. Like, I still wanted to have a good night out. And it's kind of crazy because this all happened around about the same time when I decided, mainly because I lost my job, that I was going to get into OnlyFans and I was going to explore that avenue. So, I asked Victoria about it. I tell her that, I'm going to do this. And she was super supportive. So supportive that, she offered to help me, make videos. Girl, we were even going to shoot a video together. It was that deep. So me and Victoria, we're going to meet. Yeah, we're going to party. But this was very much a working weekend, So I get to Port Elizabeth, right? I get to Port Elizabeth and I lose my makeup on the bus. So I lose my makeup on the bus. That was the first sign from heaven that, girl, you need to go back where you came from because this ain't it. So I get to Victoria's apartment and, we just bond the first evening. I have to make mention of this. The state of her apartment it literally was beyond, like, I've never ever in my entire life seen anything like this. Now, I'm a messy person, but I'm considerate. My messiness doesn't affect other people. You are not affected by my messiness. You know what I mean? And like, I very much was just stunned at the state of her apartment. I'll give you an example. She had this little dog that wasn't home trained. And this dog, I kid you not, would defecate all over the apartment because it knows no better. She's a little baby. And there's an empty room that Victoria uses for makeup. And in that empty room, the dog would just, defecate and urinate all of the time. All of the time. So, there would be like glitter with some shit on it, like some mascara with some fecal matter, some lip gloss with some doo-doo. You know how we do, girl. And it was very much like it would take her 3 days to clean the fecal matter. Now, if you've ever had a dog and you've ever lived in a house that has tiles, you would know that once the fecal matter dries, it hardens on the tiles and it becomes harder to clean. And it was giving me very much like if I'm going outside to go smoke, I'm stepping on pee. It was very much that. But I think what made me gag the most was me and Allison are sleeping on the sleeper couch. And on the pillow that Allison is sleeping on, there was mold on it. There was literally mold just on the sides. I don't know if the mold is from like lubricant or, girl, I don't know, but it was there. And you let your guest sleep on a pillow that has mold. Make it make sense. Anyways, sorry, I just had to be a messy queen for 2 minutes. Y'all just gonna have to forgive me. But yeah, I gagged. Now, the next day, on the Friday, was the day that we were actually going to shoot videos and she was going to help me. So we wake up, I start doing my makeup. As soon as I'm done, it takes me about 30 minutes to an hour, maybe 45 minutes. I go back into the room and Victoria is still busy. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to start shooting videos. Yeah, so I do that while she works on herself. Now, it takes her about 4 hours to finish doing her makeup. Now, at this point, I've shot about, girl, I worked. I shot like a gang load of videos. So I'm feeling very amped, very like, wow, this can actually work. So it was very much like, okay, I just need to shoot the one video with Victoria and yeah, just upload my videos and then bish bash bosh, successful weekend. Not. So, me and Victoria, like, it was weird because it was very much the middle of the afternoon, and I knew this about her, but it was very strange to see it in living color. She survives on substances. She needs, substances to help her get through. Now, a lot of people use different substances to help them get through because they're dealing with depression or whatever. Um, but it's still an unhealthy coping mechanism. Now, I didn't understand the degree in which this person uses substances. It was to the point where me and her, we start shooting a YouTube video. And girl, it was very much a mess. It was very much like she was all over the place, all over the place. Like, so loaded up that she couldn't formulate a sentence. You know what I mean? So at this point, I'm just kind of like, okay, so this person is, like a substance abuser. Okay, like we move. Now, me, Allison, and Victoria, we go out and we meet, girl. We meet this guy named Luke and a girl named Zelshka and another guy named Christian. And Victoria was gonna go on a date, but she had two dates, which didn't really make sense, but I was like, get it where you get it, girl. But only one guy shows up. So this guy shows up, and now obviously he's out here looking. He thought he was coming for a hookup. It turns out that it's a turn up, and he wasn't feeling it. Now Victoria ignores this man flat. Initially, in the beginning, she was trying to talk to him, but this guy, like, we're gonna call him Yoandre. Yoandre is very like dry and very calm and grounded and very like he's very shy and quiet. And that just wasn't Ms. Kayser's vibe. So she ignores him flat. Now, this guy is sitting by himself. He doesn't know anyone besides Allison, who come to find out, him and Allison fucked, and now he's gonna go fuck Victoria. And I'm like, I remember when it dawned on me that this guy had hooked up with Allison and was about to hook up with Victoria. I was just like, how are y'all friends and sharing men? But this is where I get shady because I'm very much trying to talk to Yoandre, trying to make sure he's comfortable. Tell me why we start flirting. Now I'm sitting across the table and Yoandre is giving me like these like eyes and like we're smiling at each other and I'm feeling awkward AF because I'm like, I'm friends with Victoria and the guy she's going on a date with is we're vibing. I don't know if we were vibing, but it felt like we were vibing. So, he ends up leaving and yeah, so we continue partying. We continue partying. Now, I'm going to mention this and I want you to remember this one part because the second part of the story, I'm going to go heavy on this. So, during the night, one of the boys has a fight with his mom and becomes very, very upset. Now, Victoria turns into Mother Teresa. She's hugging him, crying with him, offering him a place to stay, basically offering to adopt this boy, being very, very loving and compassionate. Like she was hanging on him. You know what I mean? And I remember thinking to myself, I wonder if she isn't doing this because she's thirsty for the dude. But I was like, don't do that, Christabel. Don't. But, we move. So the following day, or it might have been the evening, Allison has a breakdown. Allison had like a really difficult week and I don't know, a lot was going on with her. And she starts crying. So she's in the room crying. And I'm sitting there and with Victoria and another girl. And it was just so strange to me because Allison just stood there crying, and I get up and I give Allison a hug, as any normal person would. I mean, if you see somebody crying and upset after a night out, you want to find out what's wrong. So I'm hugging her and trying to, you know, comfort her. And Victoria is sitting there just watching her, not saying anything. And I remember sitting down and like glancing over at Victoria. And at that moment, I was like, so all of those hugs and kisses with the white boy, were those just performative? Was that just you being thirsty for a man? Because your friend is in tears and you can't be moved. But, it was very much whatever. We end up going out that following night. And during this night, she lets me know that she's not comfortable shooting a video, or she's not comfortable uploading a video on Pornhub. She wasn't comfortable with that. So I'm like, girl, like, whatever you're comfortable with, like, if you're not comfortable shooting a video with me, it is so chilled, friend. Like, I got what I needed to get. Now, on the Sunday, Allison leaves and the other girl, Jocelyn, also leaves. So Allison and Jocelyn leave. And it's just me and Victoria. So at this point, I'm like, can you just help me with the editing of my videos, like transferring them? And she was just very much like, girl, I'm tired, I'm hungover. So Sunday was very much a chilled day for us. Now Monday is the day that I'm supposed to leave when all of the drama unfolds. Now on Monday, I wake up. Now Monday is Luke's birthday. Now Luke was one of the boys on the Friday night. So it's his birthday, and he was all like, you need to come over. I want to see you if you're still in PE. So I'm like, I messaged Luke and I'm like, I'm definitely going to be there. Did I message him? But yeah, like I speak to him at some point and I'm like, yeah, like I'm going to be there. I'm going to try my best to be there. Cool. Now, at this point, I'm busy trying to transfer my videos from Victoria's SD card, which was from her Canon camera, into my laptop. Put it in and my laptop is literally on like 10%. And I don't have my charger. So I'm like, snap. Okay, let me transfer as much as I can, and then I'll go and buy a charger. So I go to Victoria. She's still busy with her makeup. And I'm like, okay, Victoria, I'm going to go buy a laptop charger because my laptop's about to die. And I also want to buy a bus ticket. So she asked me, she's like, what time are you thinking of leaving? So I tell her I'm going to leave at about maybe 4, maybe 5, because I really want to see Luke before I go. So she's like, cool, boots, whatever. I get the charger. At this point, my laptop's dead. Charger doesn't work. Now I start freaking out. So I'm panicking. So I end up deciding I have a USB drive. So I asked Victoria, I'm like, girl, is it possible to transfer videos that are in an SD drive to a USB drive? So she's like, no, you can't do that. Now I start getting anxious because you have to remember, at this point, I'm very much an unemployed person and this is my last hope, and I don't want this girl having my videos, because during the duration of that trip I had seen things about her where I just didn't feel comfortable with her having any type of video of me. She probably does, but anyways, so I decide that fuck it, I'm just gonna buy an SD card. Now you need to understand, at this point I'm flat broke. I don't have money to be buying no SD card. But I go and I buy an SD card because I'm like, can you transfer from an SD card to another SD card? Victoria's like, yeah, of course you can do that. Get back, I try to do this. It's not working. Girl. When I say panic sets in. So at this point, I I start crying because I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I start crying. Now, as I'm crying, Victoria walks into the kitchen. She turns on the volume, like makes the volume louder. And I'm like, yes, when a gal, muffle up those cries. And I just remember, like, I don't want to say that upset me more, but it triggered something in me. Now I start having a panic attack. So I decide to call my friend Kyla. So I call her and I'm like, Kyla, what am I going to do? Like, I'm in this situation. I thought this was going to work and it's not working. I'm crying and I'm hyperventilating. So she gets me through these breathing exercises. At this point, I also message my ex-boyfriend, Jimmy. I message my ex. And he sends me a message and he's like, Christabel, is everything okay? So I'm like, no. So then he calls me and we're on the call for 37 minutes and I'm just crying to him, like having a nervous breakdown, like crying hysterically. At no point does this girl ask if everything is okay. Like, granted, at that point, when I was on the phone, I was very much like, it's because I'm on the phone. She doesn't want to disturb me on the phone. So eventually, I get off the phone with Jimmy. She comes out of the room and she's like, you need to hurry up and get dressed because we need to go. And she's like, will you be done in 30 minutes? Girl, my eyes are bloodshot. I'm very much still like, you know what I mean? Like, very much giving, like, I was very much Monique and Precious, like, I was doing that. So I'm like hysterical at this point. So I'm crying, and I'm trying to get dressed as I'm crying. Now I go and I ask her, I'm like, are you sure there's no way we can? And she's like, no, girl. Like, she's very like short with me, as though my crying has inconvenienced her in some way. Anyways, I go back out. The girl, as I'm crying, her dog obviously thinks I'm playing a game because I'm being so dramatic. So it starts like jumping up and down, and this triggers me even more. So I'm screaming at the dog to please stop. I must have been screaming at the dog for like 3 minutes straight, loud. Then in all of this commotion, I end up stepping on the dog. So it like yelps. Victoria jumps out of that room. Girl, when I tell you, and it was very much giving me like, your tears only matter if you're a white man that I'm trying to sleep with, or if you're my dog. Very much giving me that. Very, very much giving me that. And it's so crazy because at some point, me and Victoria, we were talking about like race and whatnot. And the one thing she's known for is her racist comments. And after having experienced her, and by no means is that the worst. The story gets worse, girl. It gets way worse. That's just the starter. Yeah, just the comments she would make, like, I started to see everything everyone was saying. I literally started to see it. So, like, I go back into the room because she's like, oh my God, it's a dog. Like, you can't do that to a dog. So I go into the room and I'm like, I'm so sorry for stepping on your dog, but like, I was having a panic attack. And girl, let's not pretend Victoria does not step on that dog every 2 minutes, and like, it's a Yorkie and she like throws it across the room. Girl, make let's not be intellectually dishonest and act. But anyways, we move. So I'm very much frantically trying to get dressed, trying to wipe my face off, trying to brush my hair. I go into the room because at this point I know I'm gonna leave, and I didn't want to leave on a sour note. Like, she basically, as soon as Allison and Jocelyn left, ignored me flat. And I just assumed on the Sunday it was because she was hungover. This girl didn't have no conversation for my ass. Anyways, never visit people you've never actually met in real life. Girl, you don't know what's gonna happen. Especially people that everyone's complaining about. Girl, I was warned. This is very much my fault too. So I go into the room and I apologize for stepping on the dog because at the end of the day, I am a guest that she lets sleep in that disgusting sleeper mouth. But I am a guest and I need to behave as such. So I apologize. And it was crazy because I remember as I was speaking to her, knowing that this was the last conversation I would ever have with this person. There was just something, and it didn't come from a sense of like I'm angry at you or I hate you. There's a saying in my language that says, "Uthixo akandiphanga lo mntu." And what that means is that God has not gifted this person as a gift to me. Now, what that implies is that the person is a gift, that you are a beautiful gift that God has given to someone else, not me, someone else. And you need to go to that person. So I was very much like in that space, like just because we clash or just because, there's a misunderstanding doesn't mean she's bad until the next thing happened. So I get finished and she's done and I'm like, and she knew that, like we'd had a discussion earlier in the morning that I should get a bus ticket that leaves later so I can go to Luke's party. We had that discussion. Now, so I tell her that I'm done and she's like, so I'm like, I'm done. Are you going to get the Uber? And she's like, yeah. So I need my space from you right now. So she basically uninvites me to Luke's birthday party. Let that sink in. So on the Friday, I had talked to Luke. We got along famously. He wanted to see me on Monday. He very much wanted me there. And she was telling me that I could not go. Basically, she was uninviting me because she said, I need my space from you. It's not that I need peace and quiet. I'm very much going to abuse the substances that I abuse. Girl, she was high even in that minute. I'm going to party, get drunk, fray, do all of this, but I just want to be away from you. So I'm like, at this point, it's like, I think it was like 1 o'clock, girl. Now, if my bus is leaving at 5, that means I'm going to have to be waiting at Green Acres or somewhere for like however many hours. And I'm broke. I don't have like, I think I had like, girl, I must have had like 200 Rand to my name. Maybe 250, 230. It was there, girl. It was airtime money. So I'm stranded and this person is throwing me out of their apartment. Basically. So I'm like panicking now and I'm like, fuck, I don't know how I'm going to get home. And she's like, can't you call someone? King Williamstown is 4 hours away from Port Elizabeth. I'm like, no, there's no one I can call. Like, so I'm like, the only thing I can do is hike. So then she's like, what's that? I'm like, basically ask a random stranger who's going to King to drop me off. And she's like, cool. Now, y'all need to understand that I have been stabbed. I've been in situations that were violent, that, included men and strange cars and that type of thing. So I have trauma. Like, anyone who knows me knows how much I don't even understand why people hike because I think it's so dangerous. And I was in a situation where I felt like I had no choice. I was very much still in the midst of my panic attack. I'm stranded. Anyway, so I'm like, I'm going to hike. And she's like, cool. So I'm like, Victoria, because I need to hike in Blue Water Bay, which is on the other side of Port Elizabeth. I ask her, can you please order an Uber for me or a Bolt or whatever, just so I can get to the hiking spot because I'm stranded here. So she's like, um, let me order myself one first, and then when I get to the place, I'll call you, and then I'll give you the Bolt details or the Uber details. So I'm like, okay, cool, thanks. So we go outside, she gets in her Uber, and she drives off to have a merry old time while I am having a nervous breakdown, stranded in Port Elizabeth. Fine, you know what? At the end of the day, Victoria's not my mother, and she's not responsible for me. But it just it says something about your personality that that somebody can literally break down in tears in front of you, and you're not even curious as to what's going on with them. You know what I mean? Because the average person, even if they don't care, when they hear somebody crying, they're like, "Oh my gosh, what's wrong, girl? Like, what happened?" You know what I mean? It very much is a human thing, and she doesn't have that. This person doesn't have that. So I wait for the Uber, and I wait for like 25 minutes, and I'm like, this girl's not gonna order an Uber for me. And she's literally not. So I wait for 25 minutes. Where she went was like 5 minutes away. So I'm freaking out, and I start crying at this point because I'm like, I don't have data. I don't have any money. My phone's about to die. I'm sitting with my laptop in my bag. I look a hella mess. So the Uber driver does eventually come. This guy like parks and he's all like, Victoria? And I'm like, no, Christabel. And I'm like, is this an Uber for Victoria? And I'm like, thank God. Get into the Uber. So the trip starts. Tell me why Victoria orders the Uber to go to Spur. So Spur is like a fast food outlet. It's like a McDonald's, Burger King kind of joint in the opposite direction, but I need to be in Blue Water Bay. So as it's going in the opposite direction, I have to be like, no, like where's this going? And he's like, Spur. And I'm like, no, I need to go to Blue Water Bay. And he's like, oh. So he has to cancel the trip. And we need to start a new one. Now, start a new one, and tell me why this man drops me off in the middle of the road. Because he's all like, girl, I say to this girl, I'm short on cash. I only have like 250 on me. To go to King Williamstown is 130 rand. So, like, very much, I probably can only do like an Uber for 100 rand, maybe 120 if I'm pushing it. So I'm like, please make sure that it's that price. She orders me an Uber, opposite direction, different price. We need to start a new trip. I don't know how much the trip is gonna be. Dude stops the trip in the middle of the highway, in the middle of, I don't know if you guys know Port Elizabeth, but when you're leaving Port Elizabeth, that highway, you know that like highway where on the opposite side of the road it's like the beach? Girl, I was there. Like in the middle of nowhere. There's no like shop or anything in sight, no people walking around. I am alone, crying on the road. Now, I want you to understand how dangerous this is. And you guys can very well blame me. Go for it. Go for it. If you think I was the stupid one, go for it. Take it away. But do you understand that South Africa has the highest rape statistic in the world? That I am a black trans woman? That I am the face of what the transgender murders look like. When you look at girls who get murdered, they look like me. And guess who put me in that situation? Another black trans girl. Actually, she's mixed. But yeah, That's what it gives. So I get into some guy eventually, even though you're not allowed to park there, by the grace of God, gives me a hike, and he's not a serial killer. So I get in the like car, and he drops me off. He's not a weirdo, and I get to King Williamstown when it's getting dark, and I'm walking in the middle of King Williamstown, if you know King Williamstown, in the dark, crying, holding my laptop. And yeah, I just very much like, oh my gosh, like I can't tell you what I went through emotionally because I felt so stupid for trusting this person. I felt so stupid for trusting somebody I met on social media. You don't know these people, girl. You don't know them. And it doesn't matter if they're trans like you. It doesn't matter if they're black like you, girl. That doesn't mean a thing. These people will sell you down the river and not think a thing of it. Not think anything of it. There's so much I could have said in this video to attack this person's character. There's so much that happened. So much. Like, this video would have to be an hour long, but I'm not going to do that. But something funny happened out of all of this. I get home, I'm really, really upset. I charge my laptop. First thing I do is check to see if any of the videos I tried to upload send. And thank God, at least 3 of my videos transferred onto my laptop. So I'm like, so I very much felt that at least, you know, I got something, you know what I mean? But I was like still nervous because this girl very much has my videos. And experience has taught me that she is a horrible, horrible human being. Come to find out, so when I was at her place, busy trying to transfer the SD card, trying to get the videos, girl, it must have got lost in the hoo-ha, because she contacts me and she's all like, Christabel, do you have my SD card? So obviously I don't have her SD card because I have my SD card, the one that doesn't work. And I know this because my SD card, her SD card, I think had like some like Canon on it. It had like, it was a Canon SD card, and the one that I had was a Chinatown one, because you know, us broke girls. So she's pressed about this Canon card, and she's like, well, Allison told me that you uploaded videos. How did you upload them if you didn't steal my Canon card, my Canon SD card? And to be honest, at that point, I was like, bitch, like, if you would just clean your apartment, I'm sure it's underneath, like, the fecal matter in your apartment. Like, if you would clean, like, if you actually would vacuum, scrub, anything, you would find it. And if it is lost, I honestly felt that like that was poetic justice. I felt like that was poetic justice. And if I had to be honest with you guys, if I was going to steal anything, I would have started with makeup. I would have started with one of her wigs. I would have started with a wig, and then I would have gone for makeup. I would have gone in that empty room and taken makeup, girl. That's what, like, if I was going to steal, I was going to do that. But I never went in there with those intentions. Even though it was very much a weekend where we wanted to just get drunk and a working weekend, I very much wanted to connect with another trans person. I very much wanted to connect with my community. And there's nothing wrong with that, but we need to start understanding that just because someone is transgender doesn't mean that they're right. And it doesn't mean that they're innocent. You know, and just because so Victoria is mixed race. In South Africa, we call mixed race people colored. So just because somebody is colored doesn't mean she can't hate colored people. You know what I mean? So I'm very much like, glad that all of this happened because I got to see who she actually is as a person. And it was so funny because a week later after the whole debacle, the next weekend, she gets into some more shit. She gets into some fight with these these three white guys. And she puts it all up on her story talking about how they're transphobic and like they hate her because she's trans. The video that she posted on her Instagram, and I wish I still followed her or I wish I'd had it. You can see her shouting at these guys. They're literally walking outside of the garage and you can see Victoria coming towards them, screaming at them. So why is it okay that just because you're trans, like it's just because you're trans doesn't give you the right to then like attack other people? You know what I mean? Look, I do understand that those guys initiated and they instigated the incident, but I just feel like trouble follows this person. Trouble follows this person. And I very much got the feeling that if I stay around playing with this girl, I'm gonna get stabbed. Somebody is gonna do something to me. Because very much like I think I didn't really understand how much I passed until I was with Victoria and I noticed how people stared at her. I noticed all the evil eyes, all the dagger eyes. It was so I'm trans and I've never experienced that. That's all I can say. And I wonder if it is transphobia or if it is people don't like her because she's a problem. I think we need to stop defending people just because they're trans or gay or black. People are still people. And you can be a marginalized person and still be a problem. So I met her, really wish I hadn't, but I'm grateful for the experience because, some people just aren't meant for you. God has intended them for somebody else. And I hope that whoever he has intended Victoria for, I hope that person is ready. Thank you for watching. Bye.